She was really bad. Hey guys, what is up? It's me, Jazzcat. My camera is getting way worse as the days goes on, even though basically I am sitting here in the dark mostly. I haven't live streamed myself in like a very long time. I think it's because, well, I've been busy with things, you know. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about some like random stories of things that's been going on in my life because I recently started getting involved in like tabletop RPG stuff, and it's been going pretty great. And that's also why I don't live stream as much as I used to on the weekends. It's because I go out and socialize with people, or I stay home and like, you know, do Discord and stuff to like play the games. But anyways, the tabletop RPGs that I've been like dealing with recently that are like so much fun and that I'd like to like tell people about, but sometimes people just don't want to listen because they're too busy and like I'm not that interesting, sadly. No, but anyways, I've actually done an in-person Dungeons and Dragons game that has lasted more than one session or more than a session that I haven't been kicked out of, just because my characters have been always, I don't want to say too extreme. I'm not one of those players, but I really do get into character, and I feel like sometimes I get invited to like a game of D&D, and I'm playing, and they think, oh, hey, this person's character looks good, and they don't take me seriously when I'm like, you know, this person is a bit, you know, eccentric. Hello, Kitty. I love you. Mwah. Anyways, but yeah, I have been kicked out of a Dungeons and Dragons game, and it was all because this person that I met over Roll20, yes, I find groups on Roll20 sometimes, wanted to have a very serious, edgy horror campaign. And this person thought it'd be a great idea to actually take on one of my characters that I published in his like sign up sheet. It's kind of like a sign up sheet. You just publish your character's information on there, and they're like, okay, cool. If they like you, they'll message you back on Roll20, and then they'll invite you to like a Discord or something where you can play the game with them. So I was gonna, you know, I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, they picked me. They picked my cannibal jester character that was half elf, so it would fit the story. And I love this character. She's crazy. She eats people like just. She doesn't care who's watching. She just goes up and like literally just cuts people corpses and just eats them. And I love her. She's crazy, but I love her. But like she's too happy. And I didn't want to like suck her soul out just for this one campaign. So I kept true to her character like I always do. And I went to the first game and I was like, oh hey, I'm Jess, I'm a rogue, arcane trickster, and ow, cat to know, don't kill my hand. And I am here to fuck shit up and eat people's limbs. And that was the whole gist. And I started playing with these people, and my person was so silly and giggly, and I actually made other people in the campaign laugh. But the campaign person didn't think so. So the next time that they were supposed to have a game, I look on Discord and I find that I've been kicked from their server and they didn't tell me anything beforehand. So yeah, you know, that kind of sucked. That was like the worst thing that happened to me. Because I really didn't get a heads up as to what I did wrong. I'm pretty sure it's because he wanted edgelord serious campaign with horror elements in it. And I just didn't fit that bill because being serious all the time when your character's not supposed to be serious isn't really a great mix. He chose my character and I just went along and said, great, I will do it. But yeah, I got kicked from that server, and that's I was actually like, ha, I knew it was going to happen. But I played along anyways. But yeah, that was one of my D&D campaigns that I found on Roll20 because in my area where I live, there's not many people that I know that play Dungeons and Dragons, that are like in my vicinity, that are not like a couple hours away or in a different state entirely. So I gotta do everything mostly online. But But I actually found a D&D campaign that is nearby because of my college, and it's great because when you actually are in person with everybody, there's more of like an easier way to communicate instead of having to wait for somebody to stop talking online. And also, you get to really know the people more, and it's just not like, oh, the game is over, okay, bye everybody, and then just like log off. No, it's more intimate, not in that way, but like it's great. I really like it, and I finally made my first fighter character. Well, yeah, fighter character, and she is a drow, and I love her, and she's awesome, and she has a badass dual wield sword, and she wears this badass like freaking headpiece that's made of like blue and purplish feathers, and she's wearing an elk mask and stuff. What? What do you want? I'm live streaming. But I just love it that we have these games every Saturday. But the thing I'm worried about is that like for the past couple Saturdays, my campaign hasn't been running. Mwah. You're being a butt. Okay, I'll just let you sit there, and I'll hide my hands because you want to claw at them. But anyways, for the past couple Saturdays, the campaign hasn't been running due to I want to say people not being able to show up. And so we've only had two sessions, because I can't speak, where we've been in this festival and we've introduced our characters and we've been doing menial things that have been leading up to like starting the actual storyline of the campaign. And so far we've just stopped in between starting the actual storyline of the campaign and being able to adventure anywhere. And in between that, like introductory sessions. And I'm worried it's going to die, and I don't want it to because I've made so many characters, and every time I play with them, I always get their personality like on point, and I want to go with it, and it's just like, nope, this session ended because people started doing different things and they couldn't continue it. And I was like, all right, cool. And then, or it's like, oh, we're not playing anymore because I can't do these schedules no more for the campaign. And I'm like, all right, cool. But now at this point, I'm getting frustrated because I do want to complete an entire campaign that I don't have to run. And it just sucks, You want to play fantasy characters that are hardcore awesome, and you get to see them develop and everything. And then the dungeon master's like, nah, I'm outie. Peace. And that's it. But yeah. But on the lighter side of things, I have started my own campaign. It is not Dungeons and Dragons. It is another tabletop RPG called Scum and Villainy. Now, the thing about Scum and Villainy is that it's not entirely like Dungeons and Dragons. It's more of like, I want to say, more role play based instead of mechanic wise. There are mechanics in it that keep it stable enough to where you can have RPG and fighting and stuff and rolling dice and building a badass character that can do anything. But my Scum and Villainy group, they're so awesome. And for the sake of keeping people secret, because Kat, you're gonna stop my live stream. Stop it. Go hang out with Hanzo. But anyways, my Scum and Villainy group are awesome because I have up to like 4 players now. I had to kick one, but I will get to that in a moment. But I have 4 characters, and most of them are alien people that are driving through space. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy. That's basically what Scum and Villainy is. You do whatever the hell you want. You can collect bounties. You can deliver things. You can just fuck shit up. You can mess with gangs. You can make yourself the most wanted criminals in the entire solar system. It is pretty great. And so I, in Scum and Villainy, am the one who's running the game. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing the first time I ran the game. And the people I was playing with the first time, not this group, but the first time I actually ran a game of Scum and Villainy, the people could not handle my descriptions of certain things, even though I told them I I do like going all out and describing things. It's not that I was too gruesome, it's just that I put so much effort into making emotions flow from the characters and get them invested into the story that one of them just couldn't handle it, and they got mad at me for killing the character even though they made a mistake and they didn't roll well. And so that campaign died, but this one is great. I've got people who are assassins, who are pilots with personality disorders, which is great because he's a robot, and you know, you don't expect robots to have multiple personalities. It's great. And then I have, there's an orphan kid on the ship, and there's this guy who's a mechanic who has a robotic squirrel that flies, and I'm like, I just love it. It's so unique and everything. And oh my gosh. So I used, in this campaign that I've been running for I think a couple months now, like 4 months? Yeah, 4 months. No, more than that. Jesus. It's been like half a year I've been running this Scum and Villainy campaign, and they say it's not supposed to run that long, but I did it anyways because I really wanted to develop a story for everybody and pull in their backstories, and I kept getting new people, and I kept having to kick certain people. The most recent story of having to kick a person from my campaign was so my group that I was that they were playing, they were on their ship and they were investigating one of the other characters' backstory. The character's name was Tony. I'm not gonna say the person who ran the character Tony, but we're just gonna call him Tony. So the playable character Tony. He used to run with a gang, and he had a girlfriend, and he didn't know that she got pregnant, but you know, she left him. And then years later, Tony, now currently in the game, he finds her, and he knows that she had a kid and it's his kid, and he wants to make things right. He wants to connect. He wants to have his family together because he feels bad. And shit hits the fan, and they were doing jobs, and they ticked off the wrong people, and Tony's ex-girlfriend who had his kid ended up being delivered in a crate to this like creepy scientific facility called the Nightmen that I made up. So proud. And the thing is, she's at this facility, and the only reason they know this is because they go to him. Tony goes, he goes on missions and stuff, and he gets messages from his daughter, and I put that into his character so that he knows what's going on sometimes with his backstory. And he gets a message from his daughter, and she's like, "Mommy hasn't been home for a couple days, and I'm starting to get scared." And Tony like panics because he's like, "Oh, holy shit, I've done something wrong, and this kid's in danger." And oh my god. So the whole crew goes with him because of course they're not going to let him go alone. And Tony, he ends up at the apartment of his ex-girlfriend where her and her kid live. And he gets there, and it turns out that little girl has been living alone for like 2 weeks and just eating whatever she could, and started eating flour. And the heat had turned off as well as the electricity in like the apartment. And he was like super, like, this little girl was just like disgusting, and there was like a bunch of like trash everywhere around the apartment. It was horrible. And Tony was like, "Holy shit, where did she go?" And like, "Oh, this is probably all my fault." And the crew was like, "No, Tony, it's not your fault. We'll just figure out where she is. I'm sure she's fine." And so they start doing some investigating, and I planned it so that it seems like Tony's ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend was the one to kidnap her, but in reality, it was actually the crew's fault that she actually got taken to the Nightmen in the first place. And I told them that way later after all this happened. But they go into investigating, and they find out that some creepy guy in black kidnapped Tony's ex-girlfriend from her apartment when she was coming home from work. And so Tony's like, "All right, we're gonna follow them, and we're gonna figure out what happened and bring her back." And of course they're not going to leave the little girl behind, and her name is Carmilla. So they bring Carmilla with them, and they start following the location to the Nightman base where they're going to find Tony's ex-girlfriend. And it's funny because leading up to this place, it's like very happy and like wholesome moments between the characters, Tony and the NPC Carmilla, which is his daughter, and everybody's actually having a decent time as they're going to this area that is pretty much unknown. And when they show up to this area, there's literally nothing around, and except like this planet that's covered in like dead spaceships that are just floating around the atmosphere of the planet. And the whole crew is like, what the hell's going on? There should be something here. Maybe we were supposed to land on the planet. And I almost had like a panic moment because they are in like this area that they never even like ran into any like information about. And I placed information places, but they weren't looking in those specific places. So of course they haven't come across any of like the lore for it. And I don't blame them for it. It's just that, you know, it would have been pretty useful information to survive. But like I describe how like there's like this galaxy cloud that's like nearby the planet that kind of like wraps around, but there's like this little empty space of a clearing, and this huge hulking mass of a space station just like slowly glides out of that like galaxy cloud, and it's just massive and huge. And they're like talking to each other, and they're not sure what to do. Like the whole crew, they don't know what to do. They're like, should we go on to the space station, or should we just stay in the spaceship, you know? And so Tony, of course, gets information that she's most likely probably on that space station, and it's the Nightman space station. So he's like, I'm gonna go on that space station, and I can use this this little escape pod that we have. And I was like, okay, as the DM, I was like, all right, he wants to go, and that's fine with me. And he didn't leave alone. However, he left with 2 other people. He left with a robot character named Vox, who is an assassin that tried to kill him. She went with him to make sure that he'd be okay. And also this character named Shade. I'm not a big fan of Shade because of reasons, and that is coming up, and I'll tell you. But anyways, Tony, Vox, and Shade leave behind 2 other crew members, the pilot and the mystic on the ship. And so they get into this little escape pod, and they launch themselves towards the space station, and they get pulled actually into the space station when they get closer. And the creepy thing is when they get into this little docking area that's in the space station, like a little hangar area where they just fly in and land. I tell them that there's nobody in this hangar except for like crates and other ships that look like they've been bolted into the floor of the space station so they can't leave. And the thing is, since they're like in this little escape pod, they can't really go anywhere. So I literally told them, I was like, okay, you guys don't see anything. And then one of my players wanted to check and see if they actually did see something, because I just described what they would just in general see. So they roll for like a study, and they get like a not so great roll. They get like a 3, and so I'm like, yeah, you don't really see anything. It's just a plain hangar, and you know, some crates here and there. Nothing out of the ordinary. So Tony's the first one to actually leave the little space escape pod that they're in, and he steps out first, and the thing is, I tell him to make a roll so that he can avoid something that's going to happen to him. And he does. He fails because he needed to get like an exact critical because they're such a low level. But the thing is, I didn't just kill him. I didn't. It was just to make sure to see if he was able to avoid whatever was going to happen, and gets tasered and knocked out. So he's outside of this little escape pod, and the other two that are in there, Shade and Vox, are waiting, and they think that Tony's going to come back. And when he does it, Vox volunteers to go next outside. And Vox goes outside. I make the person playing Vox do the same role. And they fail as well. So Vox gets tasered. And even though she is a robot, I tell her that her system overloads so that she blacks out and has to like reboot. And so that's like 2 people from that little escape pod gone. And while this is all happening, back on the ship, way far away from the rest of the crew and the whole spaceship that they have, the pilot named Agma and Sybil, who is the mystic that was on the crew that they left behind, are on the ship, and they're panicking because Agma realizes that they can't get in contact with the rest of the crew because there's interference that is causing like their communications not to work. Even on the ship, they can't communicate with each other using like their headsets. And so they're sitting on this ship, and Agma is like panicking because he wants to help, but he doesn't know how. He knows it's a bad situation. Sybil is panicking on the ship with him, not sure how to help either, but they're trying to think of a way to make it so that they can help. Agma tries to build a bomb at one point. It doesn't work because he's trying to use pieces from the broken space shuttles that surrounded the planet that was near this Nightmen base. And he tries that. It doesn't really work. They try to do other things to get to think of something like a plan, but they can't think of anything. So they're stuck on their ship, and then the base, the Nightmen base, the whole huge ass space station, starts trying to hack into their ship. And this is like the usual thing. I even did it for my last campaign. And so Agma's over there, and he's like, damn it, we have to turn off the ship. So he turns off the ship so they can't hack their spaceship. And they're just sitting there in the dark thinking of what the hell they can do. So going back to the crew that's on the space station, Shade is the only one that's left in the escape pod and did a successful second study roll and notices that there are people in these suits of armor and hazmat suits that actually have these panels on them that make them blend into their surrounding areas like camouflage. And he can see that they're taking Tony and Vox down like this little doorway that's on the side of this docking area. Shade decides to sneak out of the pod, which was smart because he actually successfully does it. He ends up crawling through this vent that's in this right next to the door that Tony and Vox were dragged off into. And I literally can only describe to him just this basic ass vent he can barely fit into because he's this giant alien bat thing, which is a race that I created, and they're called the Shui. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna fit into this vent. And he's like, can I turn around or anything if I tried? And I'm like, no, you're too big, so you're gonna have to go through the vent one way and then come back the other if you want to get back to, if you want to turn around. And so he's like, okay, cool. And I described to him how he's just crawling through this vent, and of course there's nothing really interesting to describe in a vent, so I'm just telling them that he's gonna go either left or right, or try to just back out of the vent or something, all this is just totally happening. Tony and Vox are taken to this white room that's completely sterile looking and like glowing white. Like that's how intense white of a room it was. And I wanted to make that clear because all they can hear is silence except for like an air condition like sound. And you know, they were, after they passed out, they were laying across these like steel tables with their hands cuffed to the tables. And in my campaign, they ran across these little creatures that are these little black squids. And the first time they ran into them, they were stuck on the corpse of somebody's face, on their eyes and mouth. And later, they found out through a contact of theirs that those little squids can induce blindness in a person if on their face, on the eyes for too long. Tony, I say, comes into consciousness and has these little black squids on his mouth and eyes too. So he can't see and can't really speak, but he's conscious. All he can is blackness as well as his hands. And after a while, he feels himself start to be like moved, and it's like so freaking creepy because I had to describe how he's just feeling the shaking of like the moving of the table and stuff, and like all of a sudden he feels himself just falling, like that pitfall feeling when your stomach just drops. And he falls onto like something soft that crunches because he can still hear. And he touches his face because I can tell him. I told him that like they let him, like his wrists are free and everything, and I didn't want to go into too much detail right now because it would need to take forever. But anyways, he was freed and he was just dropped, and now he's like on something super soft, and he told me he wants to take off the octopus because he touched it and he figured it out. So the thing was that these octopus have very tight like suction cups on the bottom of them, and I was like, okay, make me a doctor because I wanted him to take them off and not mess up his face. Sadly, he fails that because he is not a doctor. He's I forgot because he died. Oh shoot. But anyways, he takes off these octopus and literally just I felt bad, but I had to tell him what happened to his face because he just takes off these octopus with like such desperation, like just claws them off. So the thing is, since he got a bad roll, he took damage, and the thing was, I described how the octopus tore like half across his eyelid on one of his eyes. Well, actually, both of his eyes, yeah. And all he could see was like this red just over his eyes, and because of the blood that was just going over. But the thing was, Tony wasn't really panicking. The only thing that really freaked him out was that when he's able to sort of see through like the bloody redness, he sees like these body bags in like this, what looks to be like a very like aged cell with like mold growing through the tiles on the wall, and it's all very dark, but he can see somewhat because there's a source of light coming from outside of the cell. And the bars of the cell are like rusted. There's no door that's keeping him in the place, but just body bags, these black body bags. And across from him, he can see another cell that has its door still intact, but it's like open barely. And there's just tons of these black Ziploc like body bags, you know? And he starts walking, and as he's walking, he sees that he's in like this hallway that's probably connected to like two other rooms. On one side, I say that there's like a white light, and on the other, there's like this reddish light. And he's like, okay, I want to go towards the red light. So I was like, all right, cool. So I keep describing how he keeps passing these cells, but after a while, like a couple minutes walking, he passes by these cells that actually have like those bright luminescent white lights that you see in like schools. And in these cells though, however, there are these like what seem to be like organic beings that are like in this T-pose position, that are being like, that have a bunch of IVs in their arms and like have this gigantic headset that connects to wires behind them. And like they're just being injected these things, and some of the people that he notices are all women, and some of them are not moving at all, and some of them are. I feel so bad because I knew what I was going to do to Tony's ex-girlfriend, the one that he cared about so much, but couldn't really make it work. She ended up being one of those women that were hanging there in those cells, and she was like twitching slightly, but he could, and she didn't look the same anymore. The thing was, like, Tony's ex-girlfriend was like this alien species woman, and their child was like a half born, and she literally had like purple skin, and I described like how her skin had like grayed out and was not as vibrant anymore. And sticking true to character, instead of being like a metagamer, he panicked and was like, oh my god, I'm going to take out the IVs and stuff and take the headset off and get her out of there, you know? And was like, okay, make me a doctor. And he did. He did not succeed again because he is not a doctor, like I said. He's more of a smooth talker, and that was like the whole premise of his character. So he takes her out of all this stuff, and literally his like the love life of Tony is like there, and she's literally muttering and like crying and stuff while gripping onto Tony, and she's literally saying like, oh, I don't want no more, I don't give me no more, and like Tony's like, you're okay, you're gonna be safe and stuff like that. And it sucks because I like describe how like Tony's carrying her, and he like, oh wait, no, he doesn't carry her. He's about to carry her, and I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? And he's like, yes, I'm sure. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? Because, you know, when you're being the person leading a game, you want to make sure that they're absolutely sure. And when you say it a couple times, you kind of are giving them the hint that something is going to, like, you know, kill the character. Well, anyways, he's like, yeah, I want to do it. And, well, he wasn't that enthusiastic. At this point, everybody was feeling, like, the heaviness of the situation. So he picks up the girl, and he starts walking. And so, literally, I am describing how this, like, black ooze stuff is, like, seeping onto his, like, jacket and coat and, like, eating through the material. And he's still walking, and he can feel the pain, and it starts to just burn as it eats through his flesh and starts to eat through his bones, but he keeps walking. And I described this very sad scene of him laying on the floor, unable to like walk anymore due to the pain, and starting to feel a bit fuzzy from like losing so much like, you know, of himself to this weird black ooze. And so he's kneeling there holding her, and I just tell the player character who's playing Tony, the player, you know, I'm telling them that, so the last thing you see, or no, the last thing you remember is you just remember all the times that you spent with your daughter that were on the ship just moments ago, and how it could have been way better if it weren't for you leaving, but now it's all over and everything. Like, it was just so intense. And then I described that everything just goes black and Tony dies. And then everybody, I swear, everybody started crying, and I was like so on the verge of tears because this character had went through so much shit and was trying to be a better person after leaving his gang, and didn't even get what he worked so hard for. His daughter became an orphan after that, and literally the person who wanted to kill him pretty much won by not even knowing it. It was intense. Everybody was so upset, and the player who was playing them, they say they didn't cry, but I'm pretty sure they cried. So, but yeah, it was really intense. But nobody later on, nobody in the group that was playing that their characters lived this encounter. They actually don't know if Tony's alive, but they assume that he's dead because they weren't able to find him at all, and so they actually just left Tony there, not knowing if he was dead or alive. They just assumed, which was really sad because literally the character Shade that I was telling you about, he's crawling through the vents and he actually ends up in this like white lit area that's just made of just tile around the entire room. It has like this glass encasing where there's this weird person just enveloped in like this blackness that looks almost like oil or ink. And I'm telling him he wants to hack into this computer, but he doesn't because he doesn't have good enough hacking skills, and he tries to talk to the being and they're super creepy and shit, and literally this person is just made of like this just black oil that just kind of like drips down, but like smells like copper and blood and everything, but it's not. And they literally like hiss as they talk, and it's creepy. But anyways, Shade is the one who walks down the hallway, and he literally comes across where Tony was, and literally all that's there is this black pile of goo next to a corpse of that alien woman that Tony loved, and she's being slowly eaten away at, but like there's no remnants of Tony left. But yeah. But the thing is, after he saw that, he turns around and is like, okay, I'm just gonna go cause problems by talking more to that creepy guy. And he sounds an alarm. And this is the part where I kind of got, this is why I didn't really like this player and how they played their character, because I was cool with the idea that if you wanted to be an assassin, you could be, because there's a gang for that, and you can, you know, all that. But this player wanted to go, oh, my character's the best, my character's always cool, my character can handle anything. And I was just like, no. You know, it all depends on your roles. And he was getting good roles, but then the situation didn't seem to fit. And the thing is, in Scum and Villainy, if they don't fit, you say that no, that can't happen. Like, if you want to shoot a ship down with your gun, you probably can't do that. Like, if it's just a pistol gun and you just shoot it, I don't think you're gonna bring that thing down. Like, no. So, oh my god. So I'm telling him to roll, and he wants to kill all these guards, and I let him because I am getting frustrated. But then after a while, more guards keep coming, and I'm about to say that he's just gonna die because he keeps picking a fight, and I'm expecting him to like take the hint and run, because I'm telling him that like 8 guys are walking into the place, and now 6 more are coming on their way. And literally, he was like, "No, I can take him. I'm an assassin. I've got this cool ass gun that I customized and shit." And I was like, "No, I don't care." And like literally, everybody was getting fed up, and I was just literally just sitting there, just pinching the bridge of my nose, trying not to lose my last sense of decency, and be like, "You know what? That I can't do it." And I was about to like turn off my little, you know, like close my little computer app on Discord to end it and be like, nope, that's it. And then he was like, fine, I'll just leave. And literally one of the other players, out of character, had to literally tell him, like, hey, listen, you're in a room surrounded by a bunch of people. You can't kill all those people by yourself. Even if you were the world's like toughest guy, no literal being in this universe could probably take on like 20 dudes in a room by himself. Unless they're like, I don't know, an octopus. But anyways, we got through that, and Fox literally just walks through the Nightman station and kills 2 dudes by herself. And that was more logical because they didn't have guns on them. They had more of like these taser sticks that they were going to use on her. And she kills these 2 guys because, I mean, she's like a robot, so it takes more than like physical harm to like kill her. But But she just kills 2 dudes in the hallway and then runs into a friend that is also the romantic interest of the pilot, Ogma, that's back on the ship. And it turns out she's like working for the Nightmen, and everybody was like, oh! But yeah, so the thing was, after that session with what happened with Shade, him wanting to take on a freaking armada of people who are well equipped with guns and a room, and being alone, I couldn't do that anymore because I couldn't deal with it. Like he's done things like that before in my campaigns, and it's not that he hasn't had any good moments. It's just that those moments when he does that, he kind of ruins the moment for everybody else about things. Like literally, he said, "Oh, I'm not scared of anything. Oh, I'm not panicking," even though I'm describing this horrible place where there's literally corpses littering the town. And like that he's alone and that he doesn't know where he is, and it's just like And also he's also intervened on like every single scene with other characters. So basically I didn't have the guts to do it because I'm too nice sometimes to people. So the person who played the captain of the ship, I think he literally talked to him and kicked him out of the campaign. So literally Shade, I don't think exists anymore in the universe because the player just literally left. And we've already played a session without him, and everybody seems really okay with that. And I'm fine with that too. Oh man, my computer is such a crappy camera. But anyways, they're all super cool with it. And I was like, alright, cool. So we just continued playing. And I don't mind. It was actually a pretty good choice. Like, it was a whole team group thing. And we talked about it, and I talked about how I was almost done with the game at that session because of that whole thing that just, But anyways, yeah, that's how my sessions are going. The thing is, usually I don't keep super high detailed track of the details that I put into every session, because if I did, I would literally have to write a whole book, and that would take forever because I'm already writing another book. And it's not going to be about scum and villainy, even though it'd be kind of cool to just write a sci-fi book about aliens and stuff, you know. But yeah. Other tabletop RPG games I have played. I've played Scum and Villainy with another group before. I do not like talking about them because they weren't a good group. Like literally, they just couldn't handle the material I gave them, and they always kind of bullied my decision into what they wanted to happen, even though sometimes their roles or decisions didn't make sense. They were basically a group of murder hobos that decided to kill everybody and point the finger at me for not making sense of why they couldn't, do this thing, or why, like literally one time they were going through a desert and they were like, okay, I was like, okay, so your guide is this big alien dude. And I wrote a description for each of the alien races that I created, and this alien race was actually more, I want to say aggressive. Like, I made the males more aggressive, but it's not really a mean aggressive. It's more of like a, hey, friendly push, shove, kind of punch in the shoulder, kind of wrestle, kind of, it's normal among the race. And I literally just said, okay, so this guy kind of gives you a little shove, and like picks you up by the back of your collar. And I thought, oh, hey, that's different, but it's not super mean, like a little shove, because, when you're like, if you notice, if you hang around like sports people, they will push and shove, and like it's all playful, it's all whatever. But like the group took it so seriously. Not this group, the group before. And literally one of the players stuck a needle into him because their role was supposedly very good and it made sense for that to happen. And I was like, fine, because, you know, I caved under pressure. And they literally blew him up with a grenade. And I literally made him just for the reason of being their guide through the desert to complete a mission. And then they're stuck in the middle of the desert and they're like, okay, so where do we go from here? And I was like, you guys don't know because you guys never been on this planet before. And that was like your guide and you just murdered him. So I was like, so they're like, oh, that doesn't make sense because we'll find our way eventually. And I was like, eventually. So literally, I have to tell them that it's been like 8 hours and they're walking through this desert. And then they finally get to their destination. And the same thing, too. The guy is the same race as the guy they just killed. And so everybody's uneasy. And they're like, oh, I don't trust him. And, you know, he's going to be an asshole. We're going to have to kill him again. And I was like, oh my god. Literally, that guy was going to help you through the thing. If you could just take a push and a little shove and a pickup, man, it would be fine. But no, they murdered him. And I didn't like that group. I was always bullied into doing what they wanted to do. And in the end, one of the players couldn't handle it, so I had to literally quit my whole entire campaign because there was only like three people left. Just bleh. And yeah, I just couldn't, like, 2 of the other players were fine in that campaign. It was just 2 of them that constantly, like, butted heads with me. And I think, and the thing that offended me the most was when I stuck around after, the person who left who said who couldn't handle it said they could handle hosting a campaign right after what I did. I didn't like it. I'm not going to say names because, you know, it's secret. You got to keep people's names a secret. And I'm not that much of an asshole. I just want to vent about it. Because, you know, online venting. But anyways, my lamp is doing this weird sound. Gotta keep it dark in here. But anyways, tabletop RPGs, guys, you know, whether it be terrible things that happen or funny things that happen, I love playing them. There's my kitty. She's so cute. Look at her. She's adorable. Little boogers. But anyways,
I want to start by talking about the last 4 years.
There's a commercial over the music. Yeah, because I'm that tacky that I have to actually open a different tab. YouTube's probably gonna get pissed at that because I gotta open a different tab because if I wanted to integrate music into my live streams, I feel like I'd have to get like a little speaker system, which I could do, but then if a commercial pops up on YouTube and they hear it, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, demonetization." There you go. Okay, but anyways, back to the things about tabletop RPGs. The one thing I really do enjoy is that when you're hosting a tabletop RPG and you have a group of people that have never played it before, but start interacting with like NPCs in like a new way that they're not used to. Like literally, I started the first NPC and player character in my campaign to have a romance. It was the first romance that I've ever done between a character and NPC. And it was all based on his backstory. It's a little nail file. But anyways, this certain player in real life and in playable character, their character doesn't really know how to react to emotions. And I really wanted to get them invested in this game and character to feel really connected. So I was like, okay, a romance would be interesting because then they wouldn't know how to, you know, approach it, and it'd make it more realistic. And literally, the person has become invested in this game because of interactions their character is having with so many, and you know, this one NPC. And the NPC, I didn't make the NPC. It was literally in his contacts, and he wanted that contact to be in his backstory. And I was like, all right. So I have something to work off of. And this whole relationship between the NPC and the player character was like, it's so like funny and realistic because the player character doesn't know how to react. the NPC, and NPC is like a very impatient person. Ow, your claws! Claws hurt. Kuka, I don't want to play. Because you're ready the camera. Look at those beautiful big eyes. Here, go sleep on my bed. With me, though. Ow! Okay. But anyways, yeah, it's just, oh man. I would like to talk more about it, but like the thing is, I'm already like almost an hour into this live stream, and I don't want to go like over that because most of my videos are over that long. And it's weird because usually most of my live streams that I do for my video games, I don't talk a lot. It's because I'm focused. And I feel like sometimes people don't get that. Like they're like, oh my god, Jazzcat is super boring and stuff like that. You're kind of right. It's not because of that. I would talk about a bunch of random stuff, but the games that I play involve me communicating with my teammates. Or if I have a mic, I have to make a private channel where I have to talk to myself. And sometimes people that have friended me to play video games with me sometimes join my voice channels when I'm live streaming, and it gets really annoying, so I can't say anything, and I don't want to be rude, so I can't leave the voice channel. But yeah, I am happy that I started playing tabletop RPGs because it actually is really fun, and it gives me a way to talk to people and be more social, and get out of the house sometimes. And sometimes I'm not getting out of the house. But yeah. Also, I also have my own little box of dice for my Dungeons and Dragons, which I really like. They're not like the fanciest dice, but my brother gave them to me the first time he took me to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I just like fell in love with the whole like thing, the whole idea of tabletop RPGs. And my cat's still trying to claw at my hands, but yeah. You got all these nice little blue dice. You like them? Here, have them. Oh wait, you don't have thumbs. You can't play with dice. But yeah. So yeah, I think that does it for this live stream because my cat is about to literally rip the skin off my hands because she thinks it's fun to do nowadays, even though she's not a small little kitty no more. So, like, subscribe, comment, and, I'm going to totally do another one of these, just, video talks, maybe tomorrow or Saturday, maybe. I don't know. It all depends because, college stuff is not so fun. It's kind of sucks. So, yeah. But, yeah. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button because I do want to let this channel grow. It's just that I don't really like my video game live streams. They kind of suck, honestly. Because I don't have the editing skills to edit out things. So everything that I post is like genuine raw material. It's not like made to look nice. There's no lace silver lining around it. It's just the black velvet. But yeah. So like, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys. You guys. Yeah, I mean you guys, the screen. And Kukatsu. Catch you guys later.